Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Hangout on the Sparta HQ Network. I'm Mr. Bennett. I'm hosting for Pete. He's got some things he's got to take care of, and no, we're not late. We actually intended intentionally having until things changed a little bit. Our show times are switching to 9:45. Again, because I'm coming off of another show, hosting another show, and so I'm just trying to in that and scramble over here to do things. But again, appreciate you guys being with us tonight. Just make sure when you come in, make sure you hit that like button. Certainly helps the algorithm. Certainly when you guys come into the show. Also consider becoming a subscriber to the Spartan HQ Network. Certainly appreciate it. And the only thing we ask is just keep it clean tonight. Again, no personal attacks, insults, or threats. Avoid offensive language and based on race, gender, religion, or sexual orientation. Be polite and courteous to everyone. That's all we really ask on this show. But again, good to be with you guys here on this Wednesday, and we got a very good topic coming up. I am a certainly a huge boxing fan, certainly a lifelong boxing fan, and so when Peter said, because actually, because he wasn't sure we do the show. I said I'd be more than happy to do the show, but again, I did have a previous commitment before I got here. But we're going to be talking about boxing tonight and the greatest boxing movies certainly of all time, or at least the more memorable ones. So again, definitely looking forward to again this topic. I even sent the invite out to our guy Mindrell, who was actually used to be a boxer, a professional boxer, and so certainly if he gets a chance to come on through, certainly that'd be good to certainly add certainly to the conversation, and so looking definitely looking forward to that. But yeah. I'm going to be, certainly sharing some slides here, certainly on some of my faves, or certainly how I came up. Certainly came up watching boxing. I am of the generation. I think Muhammad Ali. I think he was towards the end of his career when I really started to get into boxing. So again, certainly my dad's generation were big Muhammad Ali fans. I came of age of boxing in the Mike Tyson era. And so, well, even before then, you had obviously, the four kings there with Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran, Tommy Hearns, Marvin Hagler, whatnot. But as far as like what really took off for me was obviously the Tyson era, and certainly what he brought to the floor, which certainly I just never saw that kind of skill set before. But boxing movies have certainly also have been very much a part of that. And I just wanted to kind of take you guys back a little bit. And think I'm kind of Anton. He's going to be showing up here in a few minutes as well to be part of the conversation. But let me share my screen and let me go through a few of the, from my childhood, when I started seeing boxing movies, some of the ones that are my favorites, or at least if they're not my favorites, at least these guys were the most memorable of boxing entertainment or boxing movies. So with me, certainly you're talking about the late '70s. There was the thing. So obviously Rocky certainly came out in 1976. There've always been different boxing movies going all the way back to the '40s. I think James Cagney, I think he was in a boxing film that I recall seeing in my youth and whatnot. So so boxing films have always been sort of in the in Hollywood, to tell those stories. But really, since the Rocky came out, you had a lot of films that came out in that time that talked about that were boxing based, and some of these were tear jerkers. So again, one of the first movies that I recall watching was The Champ. So again, Ricky Schroeder. So if you remember Silver Spoons, if you're definitely Gen X, if you remember Silver Spoons, but certainly this was certainly Ricky Schroeder's, I think, debut film. And again, John Voight playing again a struggling fighter, a guy towards the end of his career, and certainly, I think he was trying to win custody of his son, and he got an opportunity to in a fight, even though his health wasn't the greatest, and he basically fought. Unfortunately, at the end of the film, he died in the film. And so, as my volume is on the low side, let me see if I can fix that real quick. But yeah, but he died at the end of the film, and so again, there's always the end, champ, and that kind of really a tearjerker, certainly at the end of the film. And so again, but that was certainly one of the ones that was around that time when Rocky was out. Rocky 2, I think, was out at that time, and hopefully my volume's a little bit higher now, so hopefully that fixed it. But the Champ was there. But there was another movie that came out. So again, O.J. Simpson, yes, the O.J. Simpson, who was nearing the end of his career in the NFL at that time. He was also the guy who was known for the Hertz commercials. If you remember O.J. Simpson running through the airports and jumping over luggage and whatnot, he was a burgeoning star in Hollywood. He was definitely thinking post that. He had the looks, he had the charisma and whatnot. And one of his movies, this was a made-for-TV movie. I think it was on NBC. It was like an NBC Sunday night film. And it was called Goldie and the Boxer Go to Hollywood. And this was, definitely he played this was like, it was set back, I think, in World War II. And he was just getting out of the military. And he had a boxing background. And one of his favorite punches was called the Mary Lou. And the way they did special effects, he would kind of wind up his fist. Oh, before I go on, he would wind up his fist. I got my boxing gloves here. And he would throw this punch, and most guys, if you got hit with it, you didn't get up. And again, there was a thing at the end where there was a lot of, I guess, some mob or mafia stuff where he was being forced to throw the fight. And but he was, they were able to get out of the situation. He was, he was getting beat up in the fight. But then once he realized everything would be okay, he landed Mary Lou to win it, and everything was kind of fine after that. But I was memorable at the time. Now, I was like maybe 10, 11 years old at the time when this came out. And it was it was OJ, who's certainly one of my favorite players, and obviously one of the TV personalities at that time. He was certainly one of the guys. So again, these two films from the late 70s were certainly there. But then there was another crop of movies that came out, a little more adult. You may not look at these as great movies, certainly not great boxing movies. But there were nonetheless, there were movies that were certainly in the culture, especially black culture at the time, and that was the penitentiary movies. So again, Leon Isaac Hayes played in a series of very raw, aggressive prison-type movies. And what was also interesting at this time in real boxing, NBC Sports used to have boxing matches, televised boxing matches from Rahway State Prison. I'm in New Jersey, and in New Jersey, there's the infamous Rahway, which is a maximum security prison in New Jersey. And they would actually, I don't know how they pulled that off, but they would actually have guys who were still in there who were able to get pro contracts, and with NBC, they were able to have this. So Marv Albert, the famous, play-by-play guy, he would certainly hosted, and they were doing these in prison. And it's interesting, around that same time, again, you had all of these penitentiary movies. So again, Leon Isaac Hayes, it's like each time he's in prison for stuff that's not necessarily he should be. I mean, obviously this is the 70s, so you still have some interesting times there. But certainly he would be put in these films, and each time he would, towards the end of the film, I think by Penitentiary 2, I think he got out, but then he wound up getting back in. It's like each movie was always something where he got himself pulled back into the situation. And I know in Penitentiary 2, you had Mr. T in it, again, coming off of Rocky 3, which was obviously certainly a huge, summer blockbuster. So again, taking advantage of that. I think, and also in one of the films, I think Muhammad Ali made an appearance, I think, and certainly one of the films as well. So yeah, these were, you want to call these blaxploitation films. There was certainly a lot of violence, a lot of sex, in these films. Like I said, certainly not for children under the age of 13. But I do remember these films being very popular at the time. And Leon Isaac Kennedy, who was also married to Jane Kennedy. If you guys, for you OGs who remember Jane Kennedy, Miss Ohio, she worked for CBS Sports. She was a sports journalist for a while. but she was fine. And they were like one of those Hollywood power couples at one time. When they were when they were married. And so again, these were again infamous, if not famous, films from that time that I do remember back in the day when they were on, and when we got cable, if they were on, and sometimes you would watch the cable, sometimes you would watch stuff that was inappropriate for audiences under 17, 18 years old, but there was films nonetheless. So again, this is mine. You may have your list of films that that you're fond of, but these are ones that I certainly remember. And then you have more classic films. The two biggest classics, obviously, Raging Bull, Robert De Niro, who played Jake LaMotta. This is out of all these films, this might have been the only one that was like really based on a real person. So Jake LaMotta, famous fighter in the 40s and 50s. He had those 3 fights with Sugar Ray Robinson. Tough, gritty guy, but again, an awful human being, at least the way he was portrayed in the film. He was violent. He beat on his woman. He even knocked his brother out. Just a very complicated and complex person who, quite frankly, in the film, he was hard to root for. But you can't deny certainly the cinematography of that time, the grittiness certainly of the film at that time. It's hard to ignore his contributions. And I think he was certainly nominated. The film was nominated for Academy Awards and whatnot. So again, a very gritty portrayal. And De Niro was known for really immersing himself in it. So he got himself in great shape for boxing, but just overall. But again, as a person though, he was a very insecure, violent person in and out of the ring. But they gave it to you, they gave it to you straight, right? But there was another movie that I recall watching, and this used to come on, if you guys are from New Jersey, if you remember, like WOR Channel 9, which actually I worked not too far from their headquarters, as a matter of fact. But there was a film that came on Channel 9, and Channel 9 was one of those channels that always played like kind of old and classic movies. If you watch Channel 9, they would do a lot of the monster movies, just like Channel 11 would, and they would have these old black and white films on TV, and one of them was Requiem for a Heavyweight. And so you had, again, Anthony Quinn, who played an older, struggling boxer who, was betrayed in a lot of ways. Jackie Gleason, I think, was his manager, but he had gotten involved in some shady business. And it kind of ended on a really sour note. But again, he was a well-worn fighter who and it was at the end of his career, and he meets a woman, and it's this thing too. I mean, he was very kind of lonely, surly kind of figure, but he met a woman who he really fell in love with. And I don't remember how it ended. It wasn't one of those things we ended happily ever after. But what I do remember about the end of the film was, again, this was also at the time when the mob was heavily involved in boxing. And so because of that, his manager was sort of in a no-win situation. And he basically had to become a professional wrestler, which was also big. We talk about the 50s and 60s here. Professional wrestling was also very big on TV back then. It was as popular as boxing back then. And so he had to do some things in order for Jackie Gleason's debts to be paid off, certainly from the mob entities and whatnot. So it was kind of a bitter ending. But again, it was kind of a sort of type of film. But before I go on, got my guy Anton certainly in the back. So let's bring him up. And sorry, I don't have the sound effects that you're normally used to, but I'm just I just kind of went through the list. I don't know how much of that you saw before you came up, but I kind of went back to some old boxing titles that, again, I remember growing up watching. And like I said, these two films, obviously, Raging Bull was like, certainly an Oscar-winning type of a performance. But Requiem for a Heavyweight was also just one of those films I just picked up. I just got interested in because one, it dealt with boxing, but again, it was kind of a very sort of bitter type of story. And it dealt with a lot of things that have nothing to do with boxing, the mob, and people taking advantage of you, and just a guy who just wanted a break, and he just never got the breaks in life that he needed until he met, I guess, the woman Julie Harris in the film. I don't know if you ever watched Requiem for a Heavyweight, but it's definitely one of those classics.
This is one of the first times I'm hearing about it, but I heard the stories back in the 50s and 60s. Like the mob was definitely heavily influenced in boxing, especially around here and everything else. And then that's when they started setting up roots in Las Vegas,
right?
At the same time, because it's in Nevada, it was all the way out there in the middle of nowhere. And people forget that you had a lot of underworld stuff going on in Los Angeles too, back in the 40s and 50s.
Right.
I think it was a combination of the mob in New York and Chicago, right around the time of Prohibition, the 30s and 40s, and then of course the underworld stuff going on in the 40s and 50s in LA. And I guess Vegas became that meeting point to where they were working together to make sure they all got paid when it came to something like boxing.
Right.
And people forget at the time, Vegas didn't have much of the strip. They had the casinos and everything else. And I remember my first time, and I remember the time I went to Vegas. This is like 25 years ago, back in the time when I was in the Army. And I was talking to this one old head. And I found out something really wild that I never would have expected. While the mob had people in charge of certain areas of the casinos. Now, the people that were selling the cigarettes, the car dealers, the people working the roulette wheel, all that stuff, people that count the money, those were Mormons.
because they were clean. They were like they didn't cheat the money. So this is amazing.
Every time when they were done and they brought back their till, they were never short.
Right.
Their count was always
solid. Yeah.
Go fix.
Yeah. But while you're here, since you're just getting caught up, so let me take you back. All right. So it's to kind of where I started. So again, this is growing up.
Oh wow.
Now I didn't remember these. So again, the champ. Again, another kind of surly kind of ending. I mean, the guy, John Voight, he dies. He already has like a heart condition as it is, but he's trying to get his son back and everything, and this will kind of set him up for the future. And he dies in the ring and everything, and Ricky Schroeder is crying at the end and whatnot, and so it was a tearjerker. But again, I said O.J. Simpson was in a boxing movie.
Yeah, I did not know, but I mean, the champ, like we've all heard stories about it, we've all seen it in some way, shape, or form, and this was the movie that actually got Ricky Schroeder started in acting before Silver Spoons.
That's right. And
a lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
And like just seeing him like trying to wake up John Voight, and you could see the hurt in his eyes.
That's right.
His voice, that was like, wow.
Yeah.
That was like one of those things, like anyone you can think of that was in John Voight's position. We probably all done that at his age at one time, asking someone we knew to just get up and knowing they're never going to get up. That
absolutely
that hurt. That's a tearjerker.
Yeah. And it's just, again, around that time, again, Rocky came out in 76.
Right.
And you had these movies that were coming out. So Champ came out, again, O.J. Simpson. This was like a made-for-TV. This was like a Sunday night movie on NBC. They came out, Goldie and the...
I remember those days.
Yeah, so it's just O.J., again, he's hanging it up in football, and he's starting to get into the act. He already is known for the Hertz commercials, right? Running in the airports, jumping over suitcases and stuff. So he was already... a growing kind of Hollywood type of guy, and it's interesting. And I heard I keep hearing this kind of myth story that they were actually talking about. They were talking about he was actually up for Terminator. I don't know how legit that was or not, but they were saying before they didn't get Arnold, he was up for the role for Terminator. I don't know how true that is, but that's kind of one of those urban legends that was out there. But then there was another set of movies that came out in the 70s. A little more salacious, a little more naughty, if you will. But I had to go here, man. Penitentiary.
Oh wow.
1, 2, and 3. Now this was, again, if you were a kid under 13, no, you shouldn't have been watching these films. Let's just say that this is not for kids. But I just remember back then, especially when I got cable in the 80s, like when we got cable, this would come on Cinemax. I think it was just too dirty for HBO. Cinemax played all the salacious, especially Cinemax After Dark or Showtime.
Showtime and Cinemax. We're known for that.
After 11 p.m. They played all the near adult film, but not quite adult films back in the day or whatever. So if you wanted to see Penitentiary, that's when you saw them. Or by that time VHS came out, you got the VHS tapes and saw them then. But even then, my brother would get them. And then I would see, because obviously I wasn't under 17 years old, but I do confess.
I had older cousins, so
yeah, so I saw these movies, man. So it had.
I got older cousins around your age, a little bit older. So that's the one perk about having older cousins. Like, okay, you can't see it, but I know someone that can get it for
me. Yeah. So again, these I had to put up there. Was it famous or infamous? Well, but I know, again, at that time, when Leon was married to Jane Kennedy, who was like, Jane, late 70s.
Oh, wow.
Jane Kennedy was it, man. She was fine. Just everything. So again, when he's married, they were like a power couple in Hollywood at that time, at least Black Hollywood.
Yeah.
Certainly at the time, and certainly she didn't. Yeah, exactly. So I don't think she was really in any of these films. They were in, I think, other films. But he always played these boxing roles, and so he was always there. But yeah, so these were very infamous at the time. And then we just talked about, again, Raging Bull and Requiem for a Heavyweight. Now Braxton saying again says, "Don't Raging Bull." That's one of my favorites. Look, I just think Jake, at least how Jake LaMotta was. I thought he was an awful human being in the film. Like it was hard to root for him because of how violent he was. Right. Violent towards his woman. They showed, again, there's no way you can make that kind of movie today, I don't think.
Nah.
Because he was beating her up, knocking her out literally in the film.
But ironically, this is the movie that helped recognize this is one of those movies that put certain individuals on the map. Martin Scorsese as the director.
Yes.
Robert De Niro.
Yes.
Taxi Driver, I think. I think this was either before or after Taxi Driver, if I remember.
Right. Oh, and Joe Pesci was there, right?
Yeah, Joe Pesci.
Yeah, he was his brother. Yeah.
So these individuals that, and before they became household names, this was one of those movies that helped people put them on the map. This is how people first recognized although
De Niro was in Godfather 2. He was already a pretty big guy. Godfather 2 don't get much bigger than that.
That's true.
So he was there, but certainly the pairing of Scorsese and no question about it.
It's like no matter what movie it is, if it's Raging Bull, if it's Goodfellas, it's gonna work for some reason. It's just gonna work.
Yeah, there's some marriages. It's like I just saw Odyssey this past weekend. Again, Christopher Nolan and who's the
Matt Damon?
Matt Damon, yeah. Again, they've done several films. He's in everything. He was in Oppenheimer. He was in
I didn't saw Oppenheimer, but I heard about that.
Yeah. So again, it's like the certain pairings of director and actors that work really well.
Exactly.
But then you get to, obviously, the Rocky franchise. And obviously you got 6 films there in the Rocky. Now, again, I'm separating out the Rocky franchise from the Creed franchise. We'll bring that up in a minute.
Right.
But out of the 6 that were based on Rocky, I got to admit, Rocky 3, hands down, is my favorite.
Really?
Of all of the films. It had everything. Rocky 3, like Rocky was almost like the champ. It was like, again, or Requiem for Heavyweight. It was this club fighter, never caught breaks in life. The mob was involved. So again, you had the guy Rocky was working for was like, why didn't you break his thumbs? You know what I mean? So you had the mob element that was kind of still around, but it was kind of like a slow film, Although I am interested now, there's a film coming out. I don't know if you saw the trailer for it. I think I might have shared it with you guys. There's a movie coming out about Sylvester Stallone and the development of Rocky.
I remember you
And the guy who's playing him, at least from the trailer I saw, I'm really looking forward to this film because he nails Stallone. Like, looks like him. I mean, the voice, he's got everything. But he basically is talking about how he was a struggling actor and how he was able to make the Rocky film, how he was able to sell it and hold on to it because everybody kept offering money. We'll pay you $50,000, then $100,000. Said nope, and then he insisted that he plays the character.
right.
So we wouldn't know of Sylvester Stallone if he didn't have that that resilience.
Right.
So again, I'm definitely looking forward to that story. But Rocky 3, I think, changed the Rocky franchise in that it became cinema. You know what I'm saying? It became blockbuster. Because Rocky 2, obviously, it kind of had a flare up. But when Rocky 3 came out, they went total Hollywood on that one. Yeah, but before we go on, Clubber Lang. I mean, I remember being 13 years old at the time, 12, 13 years old, and scared. That was the first time the opening scene where they're playing Eye of the Tiger, and Clubber knocks the guy out of the ring, and he's like, I want Balboa. I want Balboa. Hell, man, you tell Balboa I'm coming after him. I want to kill.
Mickey was like,
he was scared to death. He was like, but I never saw the Mohawk. This is before the A-Team. I never saw a man look like that, and the way they made his head like took up the whole screen. That was the scariest dude. He was scarier than Darth Vader. He was scarier than anybody that I saw at that time. Jason, Halloween, he was scarier than anybody. I'm like, that is a scared black man right there. That scary looking black dude. I was scared. I was like, oh my gosh, how is Rocky going to beat this guy? I was like, Mickey, there's no way we're going to beat this guy.
Oh,
and so
when Mickey passed on, after Clubber pushes him, he falls. They have the fight. He loses the fight, and then Mickey passed away. That hurt.
It had everything. It had Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
Thunderlips. I mean, like I said, they went block. We gonna make this bigger and better than anything. And then it had the speech on the beach. What's the truth? I'm afraid. I mean, the speech by Adrian. That's the first time Adrian comes out of her because she's kind of, the first two movies, she's kind of demure and kind of like, quiet and passive. Now she comes out and she just, I was like, oh, so she drops it. That's still one of my greatest movie speeches of all time. One of the greatest movie speeches of all time is Adrian's pep talk to Rocky.
Honestly, of all these movies, I got Rocky 4. I
got you. I totally get it.
And the reason why I tell people, the reason why of all these movies, I didn't like Rocky 5. I wish they never made it.
Yeah.
I really wish they never made it because it kind of really hurt everything that happened to Rocky after he fought Drago.
Yeah.
And everything he had to endure because of Paulie. But I don't even count Rocky 5 in this mix. Wally,
yeah.
But
what's good, Wally?
What's going on, guys?
It's all good. It's all good. But Rocky, in terms of just pure entertainment, I mean, even Apollo and Rocky joining forces, the running on the beach, it's my favorite training montage of all the Rocky. I know Rocky 4, you're in the mountains, you're in the snow, you're chopping wood, you're dragging sleds and comparing that with the machine.
That's why I like Rocky 4 because it meant more. It wasn't about the title.
That's right.
It was about money. It just had that much more significant. And the fact that they fought on Christmas Day in Moscow.
Yeah.
And Rocky agreed to this. People people were in shock.
I get it. It
wasn't sanctioned. It wasn't a sanctioned fight.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. What? In fact, that was a deleted scene because in the theater release they took that scene out.
Which one?
In the that it wasn't sanctioned because if you watched, in fact, they came out during the pandemic. Sylvester Stallone released a director's cut of Rocky 4. And that they had the commission because it was in the trailer.
Oh, that's right, because they just showed the pictures, but they never said anything else about it.
Correct.
I
So
remember.
again, he restores that in the director's cut that he released over the pandemic.
Oh,
And
okay.
so definitely go back if you haven't watched that. Go back and watch it. It definitely gives you some nuggets there. But I
Oh,
mean, but Rocky 3 is the classic. You know, it's again you got the Eye of the Tiger, right? Which is another thing about it. Eye of the Tiger was the hottest song
by
out
Survivor.
at the time. I mean,
By
that was like the
Survivor.
big, exactly. And so again, you get famous, you get rich, you get soft. You know, you got to go all the way back down. He goes to the hood. He goes to L.A. the hood
Yep.
where Apollo got started. They formed the friendship and everything. The running.
Working
I
with
mean,
Duke
it was
also, and working with Duke.
yeah. So it pulled it had every emotional heartstring again. Obviously with Mickey dying and
Yeah.
Rocky just going. So I lost it then. So think about it. So I go into the movie. I'm scared to death because I see Mr. T, this brother with a mohawk who's just mauling people, scared to death. Then I got the emotional things. I'm saying, oh my gosh, Hulk Hogan, who
Oh,
this is
Thunderlips.
this is just before Hulkamania Hulkamania was
right.
just about to pop off.
That's
He
right.
was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, 1982. And that was one of the first articles in Sports Illustrated that covered professional wrestling at the time because
Right.
they knew where it was going. And then you got Mickey dying, and then you got again Rocky just spiraling out of control. He can't train. He's like quitting, and then Adrian just slaps him around. It's like get it together, and then they get it going. I mean it had everything. It was the perfect boxing entertainment movie for me, hands down.
Honestly,
I get the love for Rocky 4. I get that.
and that's why I loved it, because after the funeral, the press conference, he gets back to the house. He's talking to Adrian. She's like, "Why are you doing this?" She's like, "Did you hear what it's saying? It's suicide. You can't win." And he's like, "Why do you have to fight?" "Because I have to. I'm a fighter. That's who I am. That's who you married."
Yeah.
And everything else. And even when she said he couldn't do it, he was like, "Uh-uh." And then when he gets back in that car and you hear the song, "No Easy Way Out," and he's driving
Yeah, I get it.
Philadelphia,
The montage, yeah.
you see the montage of everything. When he's just getting started, when he's working at the meatpacking plant with Paul, they punching,
The stakes there, the
punching the
steers.
stakes and on the hooks and everything else, getting to meet, me and Adrian and so on and so forth, and just seeing it all come together. It was like that. That's one of the reasons why I loved the fourth one. That's why I always want to say the fourth one was the best one in the series.
Yeah.
Because it just came full circle. A guy from Philadelphia that nobody knew, a nobody, doing whatever it takes just to get a chance, to get a shot. He loses the first fight against Apollo. He gets back in the ring. He beats him. Everything else, he falls in love with Adrian. They get married. Rocky Jr. born, and then you see everything start to happen. He now has the money. He's this great fighter, so on and so forth. Losing to Clubber Lang, losing Mickey, meeting up with Apollo and Duke. They picked him back up. He gets the title back. He's back at where he is. He's living a very comfortable life.
Yeah.
Apollo misses being in the ring. He's there for him. And then, of course, everything that happened between him and Drago, that interaction. And it was like losing. I think Rocky losing Apollo hurt him more than losing Mickey. And I know that may sound a little sacrilegious.
Yeah.
But
well, yeah, because I mean, losing Mickey, he went the other direction.
Right.
Like losing Apollo motivated him to fight Drago. It was about revenge.
Yeah.
Whereas losing Mickey, he's like, I got nothing else to prove. I got nothing else to not to live for. But he was spiraling. I mean, it was just so.
To keep fighting.
Yeah.
Apollo made him keep fighting.
Yeah.
Training him with Apollo, training with Duke, and that will help them keep going.
Yeah.
And then Rocky IV, you see him and living a very comfortable life, always still appreciative of Apollo. Let Apollo know, like, listen, man, we're not those guys anymore. We're good. We got money. I got my family, this, that, and the other. I'm okay.
Right. Well, it's
I'm
interesting
okay.
because he basically, Rocky, after Adrian says you can't win, or why is he doing this? He basically repeats what Apollo said to him when they were rewatching the fight.
Right.
No, you think you're changing, but you can't change who you really are. And then Rocky himself says, because I'm a fighter. That's who I am. That's why I'm made.
Yeah.
That's what you married. And that was always something with, honestly, Rocky 4, the only thing that was annoying about that was Adrian showing up. That was the only thing that was annoying because she held him back. Rocky 2, right?
Oh.
She gets sick. He doesn't want to fight. Again, it's the same thing. He's so emotionally tied to her that it's like, if she's not with me, I can't do well, right? So until she says win in Rocky 2, then he gets the spark, and now he wants to train.
Right.
But then after everything you've been through him through 1, you've been through him through 2, and through 3. You're the one who told him, what's the truth, and you got to get this out of your system and all this kind of stuff. And now at this time, you're saying you can't win. I mean, why are you leaving me now? I thought we were ride or die. It's like every other movie, I got to go through this with you where you're like, you're not with me. It's like, you either with me, ride or die, you're not.
Exactly.
And how many times does she forget that, yes, I married a fighter? And that's what fighters do. So he may wind up with CTE, which was certainly the theme of Rocky 5.
Yeah.
That he may develop these things, and it's interesting because each movie kind of dealt with what was going on in the time. Like Rocky 4, we all know about the Russians and the doping and whatnot, and Drago was, no question, he was taking he was on the sauce. You know what I'm saying?
Give credit because he pulled it off.
Yeah.
Dolph Lundgren, you got to give him credit because he
he bulked up. He was skinned. Like if you watched him a little bit early in his career before then, he was a skinny guy. I know he was a kickboxer. I know he had a background, but he was he was like I said, a real martial artist, and he had to add some weight on to that
he had to
role.
Yeah.
And trivia, you know who they were thinking about though for that role?
Who?
Nikita Koloff.
Really?
From wrestling, yeah. He auditioned.
I think Cole would have pulled it off.
Yeah, because he had the Russian accent.
Yeah.
And all that, and he auditioned for Rocky 4.
Lundgren is Swedish, and the fact that he was able to pull off a very distinguished Russian accent.
Yeah.
That's not easy. And I give him credit for that. I mean, and of course, Brigitte Nielsen, ironically,
who's married to Rocky. It's Hollywood, man. I gotta tell you.
But honestly, the training scenes between Rocky and Drago, both of them doing it differently. Rocky doing the old-fashioned way, working on the farm. Drago using the best in
tech, machines, yeah.
And it was like you saw the differences. And then when they're in the ring, it's like, okay, you saw Rocky bulked up, Drago still looking solid. You see the height difference, of course, and everything. And then act like even when Drago is giving it to him, he's not falling. And he said even I think after the second round,
he's not even
cut. He's saying that
he's like a piece of iron.
It's like I'm not fighting, man. He's like a piece of iron. And then of course, the third round, Rocky busts him open. Drago had that look like, what is this? Like he's in shock, like he's bleeding. And Rocky took advantage of it, and it was just like, this is going to be one of those. And that's why I've always loved Rocky 4, because it had much more meaning to it. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about a title. It just had that type of, it just meant something. And people forget this was also right around the time near the end of the Cold War as well.
Yeah.
It really had that much significance too.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple years later, right, the Berlin Wall fell and all that. And, Mr. Gorbachev tear down this wall. Like I said, it took advantage of the themes, like what was going on in the time, which really gave it that extra sense of a realism. So I think all the films, I agree, Rocky 5 wasn't the greatest entry in my view, but they did cover, like I said, what was happening to a lot of boxers with the CTE in fact, I don't even know if they knew it was CTE at the time. I just think that punch drunk, and they used to call it just different things.
Yeah.
But then you had again the Creed series, which certainly revitalized the series and whatnot. And obviously, I probably would say that I think Creed. I mean, I cried in Creed. I ain't gonna front on that. I cried.
Really?
When he got up off the canvas and then they started playing the Rocky music, I lost it. I just lost it at that point. But obviously, Creed 2 bringing back Drago, his son, and they brought the woman back, the wife, Bridget Nielsen back. When I was like, oh, I wasn't as crazy about 3 because I thought the boxing scenes, they were a little bit too over dramatic in terms of just the visuals and whatnot. I thought they could have went even darker with the story between those guys, but they didn't. They just kind of touched on it, but they really didn't get into it. But I certainly think Creed definitely did a lot to certainly to revitalize the franchise. And I don't know, though, based on the performance of 3, will there be another Creed movie? I don't know. I don't know if Jordan's interested in doing that. But certainly,
it took a lot for him to bulk up. And I think at the same time, people forget, I think right around the same time, I think between the first and the second one was when he did Black Panther.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was already like in shape, because I think he did Creed, then he did Black Panther, and he was still in shape. So it didn't take a lot for him to bulk up a little bit more to Creed 2.
Yeah, he looked even more when he was Killmonger, when he took his shirt off and that. I mean, I don't know how much of that was prosthetics, but if that was his body, my gosh,
I'm like, what the hell?
He really got himself in shape then. But
I'm like, bro, put a shirt on.
Yeah.
The hell?
But let's get Wally in. Wally, if you're there, again, so we're talking about certainly great boxing movies, and so certainly we went back, since. Anton and I a bit older. We went back to the 70s with some of the films of that era. But do you have any entries either from the Rocky franchise or the Creed, or what would you think are great boxing movies that we may not have mentioned?
I mean, as far as I've came into, have y'all mainly been talking about Rocky Balboa up into Creed?
Yeah, well, we actually I can just go back and just do a quick recap. So again, obviously we're 70s kids, so this is where it kind of started for us. So again, Ricky, I don't know if you even know some of these people, but in the 80s, Ricky Schroeder, Silver Spoons and whatnot. This is the Champ, and actually this one was actually a remake. There was a Champ movie that came out in the 50s, I think, and this was actually a remake of it. O.J. Simpson did a boxing movie. And then also in the 70s and early 80s, you had the Penitentiary films with Leon Isaac Kennedy, who was married to Jane Kennedy, who was, again, also a media personality. So, again, these films were, again, R-rated films. These weren't, certainly these weren't for kids. But certainly they were infamous for the time. And then, obviously, you have these here. I mean, Raging Bull, Jake LaMotta story is obviously up there. Requiem for a Heavyweight was also a very good film. Anthony Quinn from back in the day. Again, noteworthy films. And then we got into the, obviously the Rocky franchise, and then lastly the Creed franchise. But again, there might be others. I know one film that I never got a chance to see was Fight Club. I never got a chance to see that, but and I was looking for it. It's like everything. It's not on the free streaming, so I didn't feel like paying another $4 to see that one. But that's certainly one I probably need to add to the list. At least to say that I watched it, but I never got a chance to see Fight Club. But outside of that, I don't know of other. What's that?
You're gonna like Fight Club. Oh yeah, speaking of the Champ, I found it. The original came out in 1931.
31, so that one.
Yeah, and it starred Wallace Berry, Jackie Cooper, and Irene Rich.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
That's old. And Jackie Cooper, wasn't he? He was one of the original Our Gang from the Little Rascals.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, and he was also the editor in Superman the movie. He was actually
right.
Yeah, so he was
White.
Yep. So he was there as well. So Wally, so that's kind of what we've gone through. But again, if you have some entries from what we've shown or some other films that we may not have noted, certainly the floor is yours.
Well, as far as to what y'all talked about already, yeah, I think overall, if you want to talk about just boxing in general, like the overall movies in general, yeah, I think Rocky's probably the greatest one, especially for the simple fact that when you look in history of this is like usually you know how people like to say like you only get a trilogy. You're lucky enough to get past. This was probably like one of the earliest movies back in history to go past three, and it's considerably still good.
Mm-hmm.
What you
Yeah.
got for it.
Yeah.
So, and then to not even that, to even pivot to another side piece of the storyline to now what enters into Creed from Apollo's Creed side of the story
Yeah.
through his son. So, definitely the boxing series is top tier across the board. As far as what were quote unquote particular Rocky movies that I liked, so I had this in different parts. Two is actually the one I like for the simple fact of if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. And one of them wanted to be the man. And, the first fight, they didn't love the fact that it ended the way it ended. So it's like they had a round two, and only one of us can walk out of the ring at the top, standing up. And we all end up finding out who that was at that point.
Right.
But in the same sense is also, though, but for life, I mean, honestly, low key, I actually like Rocky 5 because at the end of the damn day, ain't no one gonna get a happy ending. That's just the truth. Like success is not finite. Like no matter what no one say, success is not finite. I like people can have what your favorite is and everything else of that nature, but success is not finite. You pay a price for success, one way or another.
Yeah.
And Rocky definitely had to pay a fine. His wife, kids, well, his son mainly, but he paid a high price.
Yeah.
He paid a high price. So that right there, overall, to me, like, yeah, this movie was not more than just action, but it also shows you like what it means to get it off the muscle from the ground and then moving all the way up to the top, and then really question parts of life when you start to see what you get as far as like who you gain, who you lose, how far does that determines your ability to keep on going, and then what you value overall in life. Because let's be real, you can keep fighting on all you want. What does matter when you got no one else to quote unquote, as they say, share that with? Because hey, people will remember you. Don't get me wrong, but people only talk about you so much before it's a dead end cycle. People talking about someone brand new. So,
Absolutely.
Okay.
right. Creed, definitely a solid movie as well. I think for me, Creed 2 was a very finite, was a very one big one for me because just the storytelling of that, of like, okay, I come out, my father's gone, but your ass still here, your son's here. I'm gonna beat the shit out of your son like you beat the shit out of my dad. And, that was perfect story. I love it. That for me, I love that. That was lovely. I love every ounce of that overall.
Absolutely.
But other boxing movies that I believe that was good, for me, so one of them for sure, like Southpaw. Another one for me, like I'm really high on, is Hands of Stone. That I really love that one.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah, Hands of Stone, I really love that one. Southpaw was another good one. Documentary of Muhammad Ali was solid.
Speaking of, what about the Ali movie with Will Smith? Did you like that one?
Yeah,
That was good.
Yeah, that was good. I think it was good. I'm just surprised out of like most of the movies that they have done. I'm surprised they never did one on Tyson.
They did. Well, they did an HBO movie with Michael Jai White.
Yep, I remember.
He played Tyson in that one, and I understood there was a project, an actor project going on where actually Jamie Foxx was supposed to play Tyson.
Yeah,
and
there was. I don't know what's the decision on that.
Yeah, but they were gonna do some CGI, some kind of stuff to kind of mimic that. But that might have been before he got sick. Because remember, he almost died.
Well, yeah, and that's why I said a lot of that was just like whatever. But that's what I'm saying. Like to a degree, that's what I'm saying. Like to this point, that's what I say. It's sort of like a tough one. But I mean, either which way. But I mean, look, yeah, all those were pretty solid for sure. There was some other ones I know of, but I don't remember them too well, so I don't want to just name them. Just because,
Right.
But yeah,
Gotcha.
A lot of other boxing movies. I actually put up that list from IMDb, and I was scrolling through it.
Yeah, and there was what's that?
The Fighter with Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale. That was based on
Yes, that was actually
Mickey Ward.
Gotti, Mickey Ward from Boston. That was a very good film.
And ironically, the one thing I would say about Mickey Ward, and I've told this to a lot of people, those 3 fights between Mickey Ward and Arturo
Gotti, yeah, legendary.
Best 30 rounds you're gonna ever watch.
Yeah,
that's not heavyweight.
Yeah,
those 3 fights between them are epic. They went the distance. It went to the scorecard. And I remember when they fought in their last fight, and after that, both fighters got a standing ovation.
Yeah,
like it was like you're never going to see a 3-fight series like this ever in boxing ever.
Right.
And even after Ward finished, retired, he started training Gotti.
Yeah.
Because I remember
they were friends. They became great friends out of the ring or whatnot, and certainly, unfortunately, Gotti met an untimely death.
Yeah.
At that time, and I think, but even then, I think he was fighting past his prime anyway. He shouldn't have been, I think, trying to get back in the ring. But yeah, no, epic, and it was weird because they didn't cover that in the film. I think it was like as he kind of became professional and got to a point, but I don't think they covered the Gotti fight necessarily in the film.
It came out before one of their first fights, if I remember.
Yeah. And then there was another great movie, Cinderella Man.
Yes.
I think that was James Braddock. And I forget who's who's the guy who played him? The guy from Gladiator. Russell Crowe. Yeah, he played him in that.
Movie.
That was a good movie as well. Yeah.
One movie that was also good. People talk about $1 Million Baby. The movie.
Yeah.
Those are some of the few that I remember.
Like people talk about a lot about $1 Million Baby with Clint Eastwood and who else was in it? I'm trying to remember.
The actress.
Renee Zellweger.
Yeah. No, it was.
No, my fault. I'm thinking Cinderella Man. My bad.
Yeah.
My bad. Renee Zellweger wasn't Cinderella Man. My fault. I apologize.
Right. Okay.
Where is it? $1 Million Baby. I just saw it. Say again?
Hilary Swank.
Thank you.
Hilary Swank. Yeah.
Thank you. My wife.
Yep.
And people forget, like people talk about that, like, oh, that's the movie that helped put women's boxing on the map. But no, it was the movie Girl Fight.
Okay.
Rodriguez.
Interesting.
And that was back in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of her first, and that's when I think she just started getting into acting. And that was right around the same time you started hearing about women's boxing, and a lot of people were feeling a certain way about it too.
Yeah.
Like, can it really, get that type of attention? Can they really make that money like the men? And I remember that movie, and that basically would set the precedent, that would lay the foundation. I don't think you would have $1 Million Baby if you didn't have Girl Fight.
Right. Yeah, I didn't see that. The only other female boxing film I remember, Halle Berry was in a boxing film, but it was almost like the female version of Fight Club. Like it wasn't like in a main event type of thing. It was always in these sort of underground places where they were having to. But again, that was one of those pandemic films that she had starred in. Let me see if I can find that real quick. But I gotta say. Boxing movie. What was that called?
I'm surprised Mandrell didn't come up here.
Bruised. Yeah. It was called Bruised.
Okay.
Like I said, it was definitely. I remember seeing it during the pandemic. During the pandemic time.
Okay.
But I got to say, out of the Rocky franchise, I would say the best. Because one thing we didn't talk about is like in terms of boxing choreography. I think obviously with some of these Rocky films, I think they go over the top, right? I mean, if you saw a fight like today, a fighter taking the kind of shots that Rocky be taking, the ref is stopping the fight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That stuff doesn't even with Gotti and Mickey Ward. I don't know if they allow some of that stuff to go on, but I think some of the most realistic of the boxing in the franchise was Rocky Balboa, because he fought who's the guy?
Mason Dixon. Who played Mason Dixon? Oh God. Forgot that fighter's name. Oh, was it Antonio Parker? I think it was.
Yeah. So again, that was probably the most realistic type of fighting.
Yeah.
Where they use the jab. I mean, it's like the Rocky films, they were just throwing haymakers. Yeah. So it's like Rocky would hit it, and then he would go back and hit the guy or whatever. It was like there was no boxing. Like there was no skill. It was just about who's going to stand up from all these punches being especially. Yeah. I mean, the fight with Clubber, that was just like, throw skill set out the one. I know in the rematch fight, he's got the head movement. He's doing a lot of things there, but he took a lot of punishment in that fight where they could have stopped it. Even Adrian said, "Okay, stop the fight." And then he gets up and he's like, "Come on, hit me harder, come on." So again, I think that the choreography for Rocky Balboa was probably the realest out of the films, but still Rocky 3 still, like I said, all the elements: Hulk Hogan, Eye of the Tiger, Clubber Lang, What's the Truth? It like I said, it just had all of the elements. And you talk about the training sequence in Rocky 4 between Rocky and Drago, the training scene between Rocky and Mr. T, Clubber. Because remember that fight, the first fight, Rocky's in a hotel. Yeah. He's got band playing. He's got balloons. It's a circus.
Right.
And Mickey was like, we need to go back to the old gym and train and stuff. It's like, I want to go out in style and open it up and everything. And girls coming taking pictures with him. Clubber's in the dungeon.
Yeah.
Grunt, like I said, scariest black dude at that time I ever saw in a film. You just knew that he was hungrier. He was just upset. He was just like, he's gonna take Rocky out. I mean, you just felt it just building up. Like, this is not gonna go well, this first fight. And I didn't even, back then, you didn't even get the plot, or no one came back and told me, spoilers. But right. you just knew from the training sequence that Clubber wanted it a little bit more than Rocky did. And at the end, it panned out. And then Mickey dying before the fight, I'm like, I just can't.
Yeah.
I just can't. I just can't take this. But yeah, it's my favorite. Just if I want just pure entertainment, and I can't tell you how many times I've watched it. I probably watched it hundreds of times, literally. I mean, it's just always something. If I want to be entertained, but if I want a more serious story. Yeah, Rocky 1 and Rocky 2. I mean, obviously, again, a more, from the bottom type of story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's fighting Spider Rigo in the club fight, and making $15, and it's just like I said, it's
and then like right before the big fight against Apollo, he drives to the rectory by the church. Hey, Paul Carmine.
Yeah, exactly.
Starts talking to him in Italian, gives him the blessing. I was like,
yeah.
Paul Carmine never speaks a word of English.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, two blessings there. Blessings him in Italian.
Yes, I'll see you at church on Sunday. Yeah. Yeah, it was. That was.
It's ironic. Even in Rocky 5, he's still talking to him in Italian.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that was definitely a nice touch. It was nice, certainly, to bring him back.
I'll give him that. That was cool.
Yeah,
that was cool.
It was Philly. But I mean, Rocky in Rocky 2, like I said, it was Philadelphia. I mean, that's, you even go to, like, you go through certain parts of Philadelphia now. They still got those brownstones, and a lot of those streets and whatnot. It's still like it's the same kind of vibe. Now, the one thing I haven't done It's probably on my bucket list. I don't know why I haven't done it. I haven't run up those steps. I haven't been to the Philadelphia Museum and run those steps. I've had so many opportunities. Now I've seen because I've been to the Spectrum a few times, or that area where the arenas are.
Right.
I've seen the Rocky statue, like the statue from the movie, the Rocky from Rocky 3. I got pictures with the statue. So wow. I've seen because for a long time it was in front of the Spectrum.
Right.
And they moved around. Then they moved it to the art museum and whatnot. But it was kind of going back and forth. But it was there, and it was like a long line for people wanting to take pictures in front of it. So, but I never ran those steps, and it's almost like now it's like you almost feel kind of silly if you do it now. Like I'm too old for this right now.
Why,
but yeah, yeah,
it's part of pop culture. Ironically, I haven't been feeling in a long time. The closest I've never got a chance to go up the stairs at the museum.
Yeah, you gotta run them. You can't just walk up. That's the thing.
That's the thing. But here's the thing: the closest I ever got to being near the Museum of Art, I was actually in the Schuylkill River. I was on my college rowing team.
Right.
And Schuylkill River goes right by.
Yep, it does. Yeah.
It goes right by the Museum of Art, and that's the closest I ever got to the Museum of Art was on my college rowing team.
Yeah.
Going right by it. Because it's on the course and everything else.
Yeah.
So other than that, I mean, that's the closest I've ever got to the Museum of Art.
Yeah. Which is what even the end of Rocky Balboa when they're playing the end credits, I loved it because it had all these people, everybody, every race, ethnicity, male, female, all these people who ran up those stairs. And it was like guys in business suits. It was just like people who
iconic.
Have just.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's so iconic. It's like I said. Like if you remember in the first one, he's trying to do it and he keeps coming up short.
He's cramping up. Yeah, it's like the first time he did any like serious training, and he's like cramped over. He's walking up. He's not even running. So the fact that he comes back and he runs up the stairs this time, yeah.
And I remember, and he does it. It's like wow. And then when you see it in Rocky 4, you see like it's the montage. You see that montage, and you remember the scene. Oh wow, that's right. He did make it up to the top of the stairs.
Right. And now the thing about Rocky 4, which again, it's great, right? But I thought it was kind of risky that they went away from the Rocky music. You didn't hear because again, the opening of the film, they playing Eye of the Tiger. They got the two gloves, the Russian glove and the U.S. glove, and they clash together. You never hear the fact that they went away from the classic Rocky training music or the Rocky March, and they went through I think it was Vince DiCola and the training montage and things. I think that was a ballsy move because it's already kind of established. The first three movies, that was almost like you were waiting for it. Right. Like I thought after Adrian came and she said, "I'm with you no matter what" and everything, and they hug. Okay,
your heart's on fire.
I was like, exactly. I was like, okay, where's the Rocky music? And again, I admit, Hearts on Fire has grown on me over time. It's funny when anytime I've shoveled, so I have a big driveway. I got like a 40 by 100-foot driveway.
Oh wow!
And I got a snowblower and everything. And literally, when I have these big jobs, because usually I wait till the snow is over. Like this last year, we got like 15 inches or something like that. I was like, I'm not getting out there until it's done because I'm going to do this one time and I'll be done with it, right? So I put on the Rocky 4 soundtrack. So the training montage, Hearts on Fire, I play all those songs, as I'm doing it. You know what I mean? So it's like I said, it's iconic, but at the same time, it's a risk because, again, people like familiarity. And so it's almost like you can't have Rocky without Rocky music.
Exactly.
And the fact that they introduced, again, that digital, and it was like, again, it was that digital keyboard. It wasn't like a band. It wasn't like it was like that digital type of music from DiCola, and it worked. I mean, they definitely pulled it off.
Especially when the easy way out, when they did the montage, when Rocky's just driving through the city, and you hear it, for me, that was perfect because he was at a place and he's like, where do I go from here? And then you see everything that's happening, everything from his career, from when he first gets started to where he is. And then also them including losing Apollo it really just it made sense. It just fit perfectly because it was like, now I'm full circle. Where do I go from here? And then when you're trying to figure out where to go from here, you just see him still in the car going right through the tunnel. You know, early in the morning, like maybe like 2, 3 in the morning in Philly, just driving. You know.
Yeah. Shout out to our guy, the actual King Smith in the building. I said, even I ran the steps at my heaviest weight. Hey, and guys, follow King on his channel. Also, the King and me. My man certainly he's on a health journey, on a fitness journey, and my man's been shedding the pounds and shedding the weight. So my man is becoming svelte, and surely good for him or whatever. But he said at his heaviest weight that I ran. Yeah, it's a bucket list. It's one of those things where I'm an hour and a half away from Philly.
Yep,
and I just never, it's like that's something I'm just gonna have to force myself to do, is to run up those steps and put the arms up in victory and do all the the stuff that's with that. I definitely need to do that.
And the greatest part, the real funny thing, the greatest part about when you get to the top of the stairs and you look across, people don't realize that big building you see, that's City Hall.
Yeah. Yep.
And someone told me this: if you ever get lost in Philly, go directly to City Hall, because City Hall's smack dab in the middle of the city.
Yeah. Although I hate driving through that. The traffic, especially during the daytime, is awful down there. It's like,
honestly, it's been a while since I've been to Philly.
It is awful.
It's been a while since I've been to Philly, so I forgot when was the last time I ever drove into Philly.
Right.
That's how I've either caught the train. So if I haven't got around, either somebody else was driving, or ironically I took the SEPTA. And that's it. But other than that, like,
and again, if you want to get to the sporting arenas, I mean, they got all of those. They got all of those arenas all in one set. You take that SEPTA down to the arenas. Spectrum's there. Veteran. Well, it's not that. It's the Lincoln Stadium. All those.
Citizen Bank Ballpark and Xfinity Center.
Exactly. But I think the Spectrum's fill up. I don't think they tore it down.
They did tear it down.
They did. Oh wow.
They tore it down. They tore it down.
Wow.
They tore the Xfinity Center opened up in '96.
Right. It was I think it was Wachovia Fleet. Like when all those bank titles changed.
At first, it was called Core State. It was called Core State Center, and then it became it was Core State. It was Core
Wachovia Fleet for
and then Wachovia.
First Union, I think. Yeah.
Now it's called Xfinity.
Wow.
It's called the Xfinity Center because Xfinity signed a deal. And ironically, the people that run the Flyers are basically the people associated with Comcast.
Yeah.
So that's basically why it's called Xfinity Center. And for a period of time, there was talks about the Sixers leaving Xfinity to go play in downtown Philly. I think near Chinatown at one point. And that didn't happen. I think they found a way to come to an agreement to where they're going to do some renovations at Xfinity Center, so they're not going anywhere anytime soon. But let's be honest, the Rocky movies are part of pop culture. I mean,
no question.
It's hard to talk to anyone and they don't know anything about the Rocky movies or even the Creed and I think what the Creed movies did for a generation that know the Creed movies, it's getting them to watch the Rocky movies.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to understand why this is the way it is, if you want to know why Donnie and Rocky have this relationship and why Donnie calls him Unc, so on and so forth, they're going to watch the Rocky movies now.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that like I said, I think it really helped to revitalize and reboot. Now, again, when they went away from Rocky, like when they made the separation in Creed 3, I think the movie wasn't as good. I like I said, really? I thought the fight sequence at the end, it was like dreamlike. The punches didn't feel real. It was almost like you're fighting almost like in the Matrix or something. It wasn't really like, that raw kind of gritty that the first two films had.
I remember seeing a little bit of Creed 3. I didn't get a chance to get to that far just
yet. Yeah. The end fight was, certainly a little less than, but the story in inside where you had, because obviously Creed and the guy who was fighting, they actually, they had a history. They were in foster care,
Yeah.
and they had a very troubled childhood, to say the least. It almost reminded me of I forget, it was this movie that came out a few years ago about Hell's Kitchen and these boys who got violated in Hell's Kitchen growing up and everything.
Oh, the Boondock Saints, I think it was.
What's that?
Was it the Boondock Saints? No, I think
no. It was. Oh gosh, let me look
Slippers?
that up. Hang on. Movies about Hell's Kitchen.
Because you got Sleepers and Boondock Saints, if I remember.
It was. I think it was Sleepers.
Sleepers came out a long time back. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was, like I said, it was gritty. It was really, but I thought they were kind of going in that direction. Because again, it's like what bonded those two wasn't the boxing; it was their shared trauma. But again, they touched on it. You kind of knew it was there. They kind of had shadows and illusions of it, but they didn't really kind of go there in terms of why do they still have this, even though they haven't seen each other for years or whatnot. But it seemed like the guy, he has something over Creed. You know what I'm saying? Like, something that was kind of hanging over that allowed him to exploit that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like he's like, almost like he was like, you know what? You're here because of me.
Yeah.
If I didn't get locked up, you would not be here. It's like he looked at him like, you owe me.
Yeah.
I lost X number of years locked up, so you can be here. So you owe, and that's what it felt like.
Yeah. Yeah, but he was like ominous from the time he, kind of had that. Like he came out, he was like leaning on his car. He kind of comes out, like, "Yo, bro, you like leaning on the car?" It's like, "You don't know who I am." So it was like, but as soon as he realized who he was, you could tell he was like, "Yeah." It's like, "Yeah, good to see you," but you could tell he was like scared. Then it was almost like either he was going to reveal something that he didn't want revealed or something. But it's just like at that time, then he was like in the power dynamic. Yes, he was the heavyweight champion, and he had, now he's a promoter and all these things he's trying to do. But he was in command of the situation. But they never But they never got to like why, like what's really going on here. But I think that would have made the movie too dark, especially if you're dealing with those type of subjects. I think they might have taken it in a direction that you couldn't really focus on the boxing. But Wally, we've been chopping up. Any other comments here? Any thoughts on what we're talking? I don't want to leave you out of the conversation, but I appreciate you coming up.
I think y'all hit the nail on the coffin a little bit. I mean, I really can't hit too much more.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, because like I said, like as far as other movies outside of Rocky and Creed, because personally, as far as what I looked up, so on this list of rankings, they said that Running Bull, and actually I've never watched Running Bull, so I can't really say nothing about it.
Wow.
Because they say Rocky's 1, Running Bull's 2, and then Creed.
Raging Bull.
Oh, sorry, Raging Bull. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I haven't watched Raging Bull, so I have no experience on
that. It's one of those films. I don't know if you'll like it or not. I mean, obviously it's Scorsese, so again, if you're into film, he's gonna put his Scorsese touch on everything. Yeah. So it's gonna be a good, cinematography. Everything's gonna be there. Yeah. To me, it was just disturbing in terms of, again, who Jake LaMotta was. It was basically, it was like his biography, essentially.
Yeah.
And again, he wasn't a guy you could root for. It was very dark, and those were dark times. The way women were treated back then, the way he treated his woman. Again, if you're not into that kind of stuff, it's hard to watch. At least for me, I've never liked DV scenes in any kind of movies or whatever. And but he was a very complicated guy. Yeah. And it's interesting, at the end of his career, he became like a stand-up comedian or something like that, or one of those storytellers, who get on stage and share boxing stories about whatever. But yeah, like I said, I've watched it a couple times, but after a while, it's like I just couldn't deal with the abuse that I saw in the film. So it's certainly not one of my favorites, but I recognize like I said, the cinematography of it, that it was made by a great director who knows how to get you to emote. If filmmaking is about getting emotion out of somebody, the film will definitely get you in that space. But again, it was very uncomfortable to actually view. The Ali film, yeah.
Tyson, that the HBO version was a pretty good movie. I mean, that one.
Although I thought he was too big. I thought Michael Jai White is like 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah.
But what made Tyson was the fact that he was short. He was like a tank. They listed him at 5'11" and a half. I think he might have been shorter. He might have been 5'9". You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the fact that you had this little fighter, but again, that peekaboo style, getting under dudes and being able to throw rapid punches. I mean, I just think that I can't think of anybody who could have played him. But again, I'm looking for a shorter, stocky, maybe almost a guy like built like a running back, 5'8", 5'9". But again, as far as who can act though and do the boxing, that's tough. I know Michael Jai White, again, he's a great martial artist.
Yeah.
But as far as, I thought he was too big for the role.
To make him shorter. They tried to, when I remember seeing it, they tried to make him a little bit shorter than his actual height.
But that's hard to do, because that's hard to do anyway. Because I mean, how many times have you seen these guys 5'9"? Like I was talking about Rocky in Clubber. Rocky is like Sylvester Stallone is like 5'9", 5'10". Clubber Lang is like 5'11".
Yeah.
I mean, they're not big. I mean, they say you never meet your heroes, right? I would have been disappointed. Like if I met Mr. T, and I'd be like, man, you're small. Even though he was a bodyguard for Muhammad Ali, he was a bodyguard for a lot of celebrities and everything. He won, and in fact, I remember they used to have on NBC. They did all these sports themed type of shows, like the world's toughest bouncer or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember watching those shows that NBC used to do back in the day. So again, he was known, but again, when you look at him though, again, he's a small guy. But when you get two small guys, it's all scale, right?
Yeah.
So you can make one guy look bigger than the other, but
it's all about angles.
Exactly. And that angle in that opening scene from Rocky 3 had me shivering. I was scared to my core. I was like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? And I don't want to meet that guy, because his face was so ominous. It felt, like I said, when he was yelling at Mickey, his whole face filled the screen. He looked like he was 20 feet tall. You know what I mean?
Oh, don't forget the part when the press was in his dressing room, kept taking pictures. Hey,
and he just went and just wrecked him.
Almost like he crushed the whole entire entourage. Like, whoa.
Yeah. And I thought he was going to do, I was like, is Rocky going to wind up in the hospital? I mean, something like seriously hurt. I mean, like really, like Mickey going is one thing, but you can see you could have saw Rocky in a coma. That's how you thought it was going to end. It was like, man, this guy is really tough.
Yeah.
And so he's still my favorite. Now again, so out of the, and while you might want to chime in too, who is your favorite? I wouldn't call him villain, but your favorite adversary. I mean, is it Drago? Is it Mr. T, or is it Apollo Creed? I mean, who is your favorite of the guys that Rocky fought?
I'll have to say Drago. Definitely Drago, because there was distinct height disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw it. Like when they came to the ring, like you said, Sylvester Stallone's like 5'9", 5'10". Dolph Lundgren was like 6'4",
6'5". Yeah.
And I remember a guy in the army. I actually remember a guy in the army I was in basic training with, and he was that tall, and he looked like Drago. And we all they called him either Dolph or they called him Drago.
Yeah.
And, like, you really heard him by his last name. I'm not going to say the guy's name, and I still remember the guy's name, but we either called him Drago or we all called him Dolph. Because when you saw him, the first person that came to mind was Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah.
Or Ivan Drago. And the drill sergeants would call him Drago.
Right.
Private Drago, get over here. And everybody knew what they were talking about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think,
Wally, what about you? Your favorite, I guess, opponent of either the Rocky or even the Creed? If you want to go to Creed, like who was your favorite?
Okay, so for me, so if we talking about Rocky,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to talk about the sense of fighting, I would say from on a Rocky movie perspective, Mr. T, a fighting perspective. Reason why is because it was the first wall before he ever became a champion. So that right there is a proven grounds of like, okay, yeah, if you can handle this, you can handle anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from a sense of storyline, well, that's obvious. Rocky 2, I forgot the name already, but you already know what I'm talking about.
Apollo, Apollo Creed, yeah. Who was in 1 and 2? Yeah, he was the champion in both. Yeah,
but more so in
yeah.
second.
Drago, I mean, because you could say, okay, well, who's gonna top Mr. T, right?
yeah.
So like they went away totally from, again, black dude, mohawk, aggressive like that, to a guy who was basically silent. The only reason I don't give a lot more to Drago is because he didn't say anything. He was like, Apollo made the line, the man's tongue didn't come through customs, right? I mean, he was just he might have had 3-4 lines in the whole film. You know what I'm saying? I must break you.
Break you.
Yeah.
Well,
if he
but
dies,
then
he
also
dies.
remember the speech he was given after the fight against Apollo. My goal is to be world champion. Remember? I'm a great fighter. My goal is to be world champion. And like he's talking like he's
but again, he said, but no one paid, because again, he would say something, the scene would always go back to Apollo, and he's like lying in Rocky's arms. But the line, remember, if he dies, he dies. That's what most people remember. All the other stuff comes for that. Most people, that's the line that kind of comes out. That's what you put on the. If you put that on the T-shirt, everybody would know exactly what you're saying.
But it was more than just that. After he said the line, it was the look in their faces. You saw Drago looking down on Rocky. Rocky had that look of anger.
It's like, but he was like, he was a machine. I mean, you had this raw, rugged, passionate street clubber, right?
Yeah.
And they went to this guy who was like soulless, like total machine. The haircut, they gave him that high top, that fade,
that military style haircut. Remember?
Yeah.
Remember,
but it was style. It wasn't military. Like he had a little style on the top, right? It kind of arched up. I don't know if that's standard military cut, but I mean,
that's basically on high. It's called a high and tight. That's
definitely the size. But I'm saying, but the top, he had. They put something in there because it kind of sloped upwards. It was well shaped. It wasn't a buzz cut. But even then, he looked like, again, something mechanical.
Yeah,
because it was so tight. It looked like like he could have been a Terminator. I mean, just So the cut was, and again, all those dudes got those cuts after the movie. I didn't see too many brothers getting mohawks after Mr. T. Mr. T kind of owned the franchise. If someone showed up in school or whatever with a mohawk, then they would have been sent home.
You want Mr. T?
Exactly. Nobody. But that Drago haircut back in 85, 86, dudes was getting that haircut.
Yeah.
They were getting that high. Remember the Boz, right? Brian Bosworth?
Bosworth, yes.
Bosworth had the Boz cut. That was basically Dolph Lundgren.
I didn't think Bosworth got the haircut because
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Because he made him, and he had the glasses. He made him look like the Terminator. Like he wanted to, that was the thing. If you were a football player, so that was the cut that you got back then. So it was a style thing. So he, like I said, he hit different simply because of, again, the way he carried himself, the robotic, and again, the training and everything was just so, different. So it was like cold. So, but what would you rather fight? It's like, you want to fight like a real pit bull, or do you want to fight like a Terminator? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's two totally different characters, but I'm glad they went, and you could have flipped them, right? Drago could have been Rocky 2, Clubber could have been Rocky 3. It's
Yeah.
like in terms of the
time.
yeah, in terms of the character or the odds that Rocky beat this guy.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, pick your poison. Like who you want to
I,
go
I
against, but
think
they're gonna come
going
at you
with- But I
different.
think going with Clubber in 3 and then Drago in 4, it was like, okay, you beat Clubber Lang. Now you got Ivan Drago. You're like, what the hell?
All right. Oh, well, let me ask you this: if we have to have because again, Rocky, the Rocky 3, the second fight, Rocky changed strategy. He tired him out. He boxed. He jabbed. He made a miss.
And that's what it was, because Clubber was a brawler.
Yeah,
He wasn't polished. He was raw.
yeah.
And
But he was so. So again, so we have to have an eliminator, right? So again, so we got Rocky winning out.
Mm-hmm.
Who's battling for silver and bronze? So the match, the silver match, Clubber Lang versus Drago. Who you got? It could come down to who lands first.
Drago, because he got that reach. 5'11" versus 6'4". I'm taking 6'4".
Well, in the film, he was a lot bigger. I'm just saying, but at least the way they came off, I think they would have portrayed Mr. T as being a bit bigger than, certainly bigger than Rocky, and he certainly outweighed Rocky by a significant amount. Right. I think Sylvester Stallone, he was like he might have been 5'9", 5'10", but he was like 160 pounds. When he got for Rocky 3, he actually lost weight. He looked so much bigger, but he got ripped, and it's that illusion of when you get ripped, you naturally look bigger when you shed all that fat off. So he did that, and that was the same physique that he did Rambo in. So when we saw Rambo for the first Blood,
that's right.
That was essentially, he had the same physique that he had for Rambo was the physique that he had for Rocky 3.
And ironically, at that time when he did Rambo, it was accurate, because you don't find guys that big and solid, especially in the military.
Yeah.
Especially Rambo's character in Special Forces, you're not going to find guys that big and bulk. You're going to see guys lean, definitely got endurance, definitely have stamina, and cut. Lean and cut. But you're not going to see bulk. You rarely going to find bulk, but definitely lean. And that's what it was, because he looked bulky, but he was lean, basically.
Right.
And that's what
although I have seen some pretty muscular military guys. I mean, who are very athletic. I mean, some of these guys, they be doing these training videos and whatnot. And this one guy, I mean, the guy is as wide as he is tall, but he's doing backflips and, into a push-up handstand and whatnot. I mean, so some of these guys, they can pull up. But I understand, though, it's like that's not ideal. You definitely, so most of the guys you served with, they were like under 200 pounds, would you say?
Most guys were under 200 pounds. A lot of guys, like a good number of Rangers, and like a couple of guys that were Rangers could be like 6'2", 6'3", $175. You're like, what?
That's thin.
They're lean, but
that is thin.
Yeah, they're lean, but guess what? They got endurance and they got stamina, and that's what worked in their favor. They could go for a long minute without tiring out.
Right. So where's the power come from then?
It's motivation, and just so used to carrying a significant amount of weight or doing a lot of walking as well. You learn how to just basically, your body is just so, you're tenderized, basically, the best way I can say it. Your body is made so much for that type of endurance. And Ranger School's not easy. There's a reason why it's called 62 Days of Hell. There's a reason. And anyone that gets to the end and tabs out, I'll give them that respect for that reason.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. It's not, you're not gonna be bulky. There are guys that do go in, and they could be like maybe 175, 180, and they'll lose a good 20, 30, and you'll see them, they're looking like $145, $150. Like, what the hell did they do to you?
Yeah.
That's why it's called 62 Days of Hell.
Yeah.
Y'all can have that. Salute.
It almost seems so counterintuitive that you're training these guys to a nearly starved kind of state, but then they got to be ready to fight at some point. Like you're not at your nutritional best. You're not at your healthiest best, but nevertheless, you may have to go into a situation that requires that. So I never quite understood how that works. So maybe
it's endurance, it's stamina, sleep deprivation. That's the thing that people don't realize. Also, at the same time, there are times you're gonna go maybe you'll be lucky to get 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
In a day. You probably might have 4 hours of sleep in a week.
Right. But it's still the fact that you have these guys in that state, and yet you still have to fire weapons accurately and do all. I mean, we could talk about that in another show.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
want
another show.
to take up the time there.
But
in fact, yeah.
But the thing with Stallone, and people forget that he was not just doing Rocky; he was also doing Rambo.
Yeah.
So it was hard for him to be like bulky and do Rambo. It would not look realistic. Yeah. So for him to slim down and still be cut was the best option for him. Like, okay, I'm doing the Rocky movies and everything else. Now I'm gonna be doing the Rambo movies. I can't carry all this weight.
Right.
I'll slim down and everything else. But then when he went back to doing the Rocky movies, he had to get cut at the fact that he was maybe like $165. If he was at 160, 165, and he's supposed to be a heavyweight, that's the thing people forget. He's supposed to be a heavyweight.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
He's still under heavyweight.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's all about, again, movie magic makes you bigger, heavier, whatever. Even in the Creed movies, right? He started out at 168. By Creed 2, he was already over 200. So that's a huge, because even in real fighting, you go from 168, 175, 190, cruiserweight, and then up. But in the span of one film, he was already fighting at 220 in the second movie. So it's just interesting how you make those kind of jumps.
The one heavyweight fighter that always fought light, Evander Holyfield. He was tall.
Yeah.
But he was always, you never heard him anywhere over. I think one weight, the heaviest, I think I remember hearing him, he was at around 215.
215. So, yeah, later in his career, he definitely started to put the weight on. When he first came to heavyweight, he's like 204, 205. And it's interesting, he trained like Drago. If you ever saw, like back in the day when they showed training videos of him, they use all that high-tech equipment stuff. He wasn't, he wasn't in like the dungeon type of gym sort of situation. They put him in. They used the best tools available at the time.
And Holyfield was an example of a heavyweight that doesn't have to be heavy.
Yeah, and he built it naturally. So he started at 175, then he was cruiser, and then he went into heavy.
Light heavyweight first.
Light heavyweight, cruiser, and then heavyweight, and so he didn't, like I said, he didn't go crazy with it.
No.
And it helped him certainly in those latter rounds when he needed that endurance. So,
it's favor, and that's basically what it is. Like, it's not about how much power you have; it's how long you can go. And people forget at that time they were still fighting. They weren't doing 15 rounds anymore. I think they also were doing 12 rounds.
Yeah, they got rid of 15, I think, after 1982 is when they started to go down because, again, you had in 1 year, you had Dooku Kim, who died in the ring, and then you also had that fight Alexis Arguello and Aaron Pryor, and because those fights went into the latter rounds and whatnot, and they were saying then that, we need to cut this down. So, by 1983-84, most of those fights were 12
rounds after that.
Not I think it was basically by sanctioning body. I think the IBF to hang on to 15 rounds for the longest time.
Yeah.
Then they eventually cut it down at that time.
WBC was the first to do it.
Yeah.
Then the WBA, and then the IBF just held out.
Yeah.
Because
they still did 15 rounds.
A lot of those great fighters in those at that time in the 80s, like Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler and Tommy Hearns, were fighting 15-round fights still. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because the fight that Sugar Ray and Hagler had, it was on the table. They could have fought 15 rounds. Hagler said no. I guess he felt, look, I'll take him out or whatever. But it's interesting if the fight did go 15, because Ray said after the fight he was out of gas. He was totally done.
Yeah.
So I wonder if he if Hagler would have got those extra 3 rounds, could he have eventually won the fight? Because I think it was a split decision.
It was, and that was like the one fight that bothered him.
He retired. Yeah, that was it. He was done. Totally after that. But Going to start to wind down the show. Craig had opined earlier. He still thinks Kickboxer was one of the best movies I've seen on the boxing side of things. Yeah, I mean, we kept it specifically to actual boxing. Kickboxing is more in the martial arts category. I know Jean-Claude Van Damme with Kickboxer and whatnot. So, yeah, you had a lot of those films then, but that would be more so in the martial arts. And probably need to have a show on that. Best martial arts movies that's out there. So we can yeah, so we could definitely chop that. We could definitely chop that up in the future, or we could even go to Todd's like best Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. I mean, because he's so prolific, we could even go there with that. But we could certainly start to put our final thoughts together. So Wally, again, appreciate you hopping on tonight. But certainly any final thoughts certainly as we close the show down.
Oh, say it again. Oh, he said final thoughts.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, overall, as far as the final thoughts, I think, funny enough, when it comes to like the overall things that are done in movies, I think boxing nowadays have been like out of the sceneries of the movie theaters, which honestly, I think, right now it can find its way back in. I just think they just need to make a creative story.
Gotcha.
That makes sense.
Anton?
Honestly, boxing, there's a reason why it's called the sweet science. And a lot of these movies that we talked about, not just the Rocky and the Creed movies, but a lot of other boxing movies, from The Fighter to Cinderella Man to $1 Million Baby to even Raging Bull. It talks about the nuances of the sport, the training, the discipline, the tragedies, the triumphs. I mean, boxing movies have always had a story in some way, shape, or form. And I don't know what it is about boxing movies, but it finds a way to draw you in and be heavily invested. It just does. And that's why I think it's hard to find. I mean, you can find some great boxing movies, and sadly, you can find some really bad boxing movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. But other than that, boxing, I think, is the one sport that finds a way to draw you in. And sometimes it's not the story of the fighters outside the ring, but the story is also about the fighter in the ring. And sometimes you wonder, like, how is it going to turn out?
Yeah.
And what these movies we talked about and the list I was just looking at online on when I opened up another window, I mean, all these movies all bring something different, but they all have their own unique story, and that's what makes it awesome. And it's kind of hard to do that with other sports, but for some reason, it always works with boxing. And that's all I gotta say. Those are some words we're thinking about.
Indeed. And we can, certainly we can even think about other sports, like greatest football movies ever. And I certainly have a list of those. I mean, Friday Night Lights or Wildcats or whatever it is. So we got a lot of films we can catch up there.
Program.
So I'll definitely get that into the list. Yes, absolutely. So again, but certainly we appreciate you guys being here tonight. Again, just make sure you hit the like button, certainly as you leave the show. But certainly we'll be back. Certainly Sunday night with the Gray Area. Had a call-in show on the Gray Area. So certainly any topics that we've covered there, definitely be part of that conversation. And, until we see you next time, certainly for myself, for Anton, and for Wally, this is the Hangout on the Sparta HQ Network. Until next time, take care, God bless, and we will see you next time. Good night.
Yeah, have a good